Good morning, Year 8. Welcome to English Lesson 3. I hope. Are we on English Lesson 3? Maybe. Guys, so we can go through this together quite quickly. Find yourselves a pen, fetch a piece of paper, and remember to focus on one task at a time. Now, I know what I've done. It's English Lesson 3 in this unit, but you did do your Mastery Monday lesson yesterday. So if we were counting, it's technically Lesson 4. Okay, but make sure you've got your pen, piece of paper, and that we focus on one task at a time. Also remember, keep an eye on the clock. In 45 minutes, that's a really good amount of learning. So if you're not quite to the end of the slides, you can stop. So we're going to be falling in love with reading. So hopefully you're going to hear a bit more of the story today and really enjoy it. Okay, so before we read our next extract today, I want to do a quick recap and retrieval. Guys, for each of these, you either just need to write yes or no. So if we quickly write down on our piece of papers 1 to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, write those down for me. Now, as I read a sentence, I want you to decide based on last week's learning, is this a yes or a no? Okay, so Gerald Durrell fell in love with animals when he lived in Greece. Now, this is based on information we had last week where we were looking at that word inculcate, which means when you get really passionate, where you learn to love something. So we saw last week that Gerald Durrell did learn to love animals when he lived in Greece. So would this be yes or no? Gerald Durrell fell in love with animals when he lived in Greece. You decide yes or no. So write down yes or no. Number 2, yes or no. The weather in Bournemouth was perfect. Sunshine and a heat wave. So with the reading we did last week, was the weather in Bournemouth perfect? Was it sunshine and a heat wave? Yes or no? Now, based on yesterday's learning, a concrete noun can be seen, felt, heard, and touched. Yes or no? 4, abstract nouns don't describe feelings and ideas. Is that a yes or a no? And 5, proper nouns begin with a capital letter. Is that a yes or a no? So guys, you can either rewind if you like to hear me read the sentences again, or you can press pause and write down 1 to 5, yes or no. And we'll look at the answers together when you're ready. Okay guys, shall we see what those answers are? So let's have a little look then. So Gerald Durrell fell in love with animals when he lived in Greece. Yes. One of our first lessons, we looked at the information on Gerald Durrell, and it says he was inculcated. He learnt to love animals when he was in Greece. And he was in Corfu, a Greek island. It says that the weather in Bournemouth was perfect, sunshine and a heat wave. Of course, that was a no. We did that lovely lesson on the drizzle and the wind and the rain and the grey skies. It was anything but perfect. No sense of sunshine or a heat wave, and it was the middle of the summer. From yesterday, yes, a concrete noun can be seen, felt, heard, and touched. So table, cup, body, hair, dog. These are all concrete nouns because we can see them, feel them, hear them, or touch them in some capacity. So that's a yes. Now, guys, I hope you got this one. The little tricky word here was the don't. Abstract nouns don't describe feelings and ideas. Well, the answer there would be no, because they do. If it said they do describe feelings, that's what we want. And proper nouns begin with a capital letter. Yes, they do. And actually, look at all our proper nouns. So we've got Gerald Durrell. That's a proper noun, the name of the writer. There's the title of the book, My Family and Other Animals. Okay, lovely people. So that's got us thinking back to last week. Now today, guys, I'm going to read to you a bigger chunk, and all you need to do is listen, okay? And maybe do 1 or 2 little notes as we go through. So I want you to first of all just listen to me read to you today. And then we're going to zoom in on an extract together, okay? Now it says here we're going to learn some new vocabulary. So as we read through, I will draw attention to some words. We're going to be using questions as we read to get us thinking out loud and to check that we understand what we read. But for this first bit, guys, I just want you to enjoy the story, okay? So you ready just to relax and let me read to you? Are you sitting comfortably? Maybe got a cup of tea? Biscuit? Something nice? Okay, here we go. So let's remind ourselves of what we looked at last week. So the story begins with the writer focusing on the weather in Bournemouth. He describes the wind, the drizzle, the stormy sea. Next, he builds the idea that the weather is so bad because even the seagulls can't fly in it, can they? And then he ends with the idea that this kind of weather is so bad that it's really hard to put up with. Now, remember, the man telling us this story is Gerald Durrell himself. So now we're going to read about his family. Now, guys, you just need to listen, and then at the end, we're going to do this task together. Okay? So he set up that Bournemouth is wet and miserable, so it's a miserable, rainy day. And then he tells us this. Considered as a group, my family was not a very prepossessing sight that afternoon. In other words, prepossessing means attractive, so his family aren't very attractive. For the weather had brought with it the usual selection of ills to which we were prone. So in other words, the bad weather's made them poorly. So we're about to get introduced to Gerald Durrell's family, and the weather, the terrible rain and drizzle that we saw in the last paragraph, has made them all poorly. Okay? For me, lying on the floor, labelling my collection of shells, it had brought catarrh, pouring into my skull like cement. So I was forced to breathe treacherously through open mouth. So the first member of the family we were meeting is Gerald Durrell himself. He's lying on the floor, labelling his shells, and he's ill. What's making him poorly? He's got catarrh. Guys, catarrh is the technical word for snot. Okay, so when we get that coffee, snotty sound, that's catarrh. And he's got this beautiful simile, pouring into my skull like cement. So it forces him, he can't breathe through his nose, so he's kind of like as he's lying on the floor, labelling his shells. So the first member of the family is him. Me is Gerald Durrell. For my brother Leslie, hunched dark and glaring by the fire, it inflamed the convolutions of his ears so that they bled delicately but persistently. Ugh! His brother's ears are bleeding. That's a bit gross. And where is his brother, guys? He sat and hunched by the fire. So we've got Gerald, I should say, full of catarrh, lying on the floor. We've got his brother Leslie hunched over, and his ears are bleeding. Ugh! And to my sister Margot, it delivered a fresh dappling of acne spots to a face that was already blotched like a red veil. So we've also got a sister now, and she's covered in acne, so really sore red skin. Poor Margot. So to my sister Margot, it delivered a fresh dappling of acne spots that was already blotched red, like a veil. For my mother, there was a rich bubbling cold and a twinge of rheumatism to season it. So older people, rheumatism is where their bones might ache. So we've got a mother, a Margot, a Leslie, and a Jerry so far. Only my eldest brother Larry was untouched. So Larry's the only one who's not poorly. But it was sufficient that he was irritated by our failings. So we've got Larry, who's not poorly, but he's irritated. He's fed up with everybody else. So, guys, in a minute, I want you to pause. Now, all I want you to do for this, because it's notes, is 1 to 5. I want you to give me a name of a family character and tell me one thing they're doing. So let's look at number 1 together. So who is the me who's telling us the story? So we go all the way back. Our story is being told to us by Gerald. Gerald is the storyteller. So we might write number 1, Jerry. So I'm just going to do it this way so you can see. So you would write in your book, Gerald. And what's wrong with Gerald, guys? Yeah, well, what's he doing? So you can either tell me what's making him poorly or what he's doing. So he's lying on the floor. Okay, so your job is to press pause, okay, and to see which other members of his family, so what other family members we've got, what their names are, and something they're doing or what they're poorly with. Okay, so off you go. Press pause at this stage, and we'll reconnect together in a minute. Okay, guys, so are you ready to mark yourself? So we've got, what's the brother's name? 3, 2, 1, he's called Leslie. Now, Leslie is, it's gross. He's either hunched by the fire or his ears are bleeding. That's quite an unusual, quite an old-fashioned illness, that one. I couldn't imagine somebody getting that today, could you? Then we've got the sister. Lovely old-fashioned name. What's the sister called? 3, 2, 1. Brilliant. Give yourself a tick if you've got Margot. Now, Margot has got spots. Bless her. She's got spots. She's got acne. Yep. So her face is covered. Ooh. Then we've got his mother. Brilliant. And mother has got a rich, bubbling cold. She's got a cold and a bit of rheumatism, but we only need one thing. And last but not least, who have we got? Yeah, we've got Larry. So we've got a fifth brother, Larry. And he's not poorly, is he? But he's irritated. Now, when you're irritated, you're a little bit annoyed. You're frustrated with other people. Okay, so we've got Larry, irritated and annoyed. We've got the mother with her cold, Margot with spots, Leslie with his bleeding ears, and Jerry is lying on the floor. He's also got catarrh. So give yourself a tick if you got those right, a nice mark out of 5. Okay, next part of the extract. It was Larry, of course, who started it. The rest of us felt too apathetic to think of anything except our own ills. But Larry was designed by Providence to go through life like a small blonde firework, exploding ideas in other people's minds and then curling up with cat-like unctuousness and refusing to take any blame for the consequences. He had become increasingly irritable as the afternoon wore on. At length, glancing moodily around the room, he decided to attack Mother as being the obvious cause of the trouble. "Why do we stand this bloody climate?" he asked suddenly, making a gesture towards the rain-distorted window. "Look at it! And if it comes to that, oh my gosh, look at us. Margot swollen up like a plate of scarlet porridge. Leslie wandering around with 14 fathoms of cotton wool in his ear. Jerry sounds as though he's had a cleft palate from birth. And look at you. You're more decrepit and hag-ridden every day." Mother peered over the top of a large volume entitled Easy Recipes from Ratchapana. "Indeed I'm not," she said indignantly. "You are," Larry insisted. "You're beginning to look like an Irish washerwoman, and your family looks like a series of illustrations from a medical encyclopedia." "What we all need," said Larry, getting into his stride, "is a sunshine, a country where we can grow." "Yes, dear, that would be nice," agreed Mother, not really listening. "I had a letter from George this morning. He says Corfu's wonderful. Why don't we pack up and go to Greece?" So guys, we don't need to really unpack this too much, but what we see here is a chain of events. The miserable Bournemouth weather, the family poorly and full of ills, and then in comes Larry with a suggestion. So where does Larry suggest that they go and live? What's his answer to their problems of the weather and feeling poorly? He says, why don't we go and live in Greece? Brilliant, Corfu. So this is the start of the family's adventure for going to Greece. Okay? So this is the end of the chapter. Now you can see there's a little bit more work for us to do on this, but we're going to do it together. We're brilliant working together. So we skip in the book a few pages and we get to the end of the chapter. So Larry suggests let's escape from the weather and being ill and go to Corfu. And the family must have said yes, because when we come in at this point in the story, they're arriving in Corfu. Are you ready? The sea lifted smooth blue muscles of waves as it stirred in the dawn light, and the foam of our wake spread gently behind us like a white peacock's tail, glinting with bubbles. The sky was pale and stained with yellow on the eastern horizon. So this is a beautiful description of the family arriving by boat, no aeroplanes or easily accessed aeroplanes 50 years ago when this was written, or when they went here. Sorry, as a child, so more than 50 years ago. So they're approaching Corfu by boat. And remember Bournemouth? Bournemouth at the beginning, which was grey-green sea that was wild and grey skies and rain and misery. Is Corfu being presented in the same or different way, guys? So to help us answer that question, can you find the colours for me in this section? As I read it again, if I come across a colour, can you just write it down? I'll give you a clue. There's going to be 3. So let's just look for the colours in this section. The sea lifted smooth blue muscles of waves as it stirred in the dawn light. Ooh, what was the first colour that's mentioned? Is it green? Is it grey? No, it's 1, 2, 3. What's the colour? Blue. Brilliant. So write down blue for me, okay? And the foam of our wake spread gently behind us like a white peacock's tail. Okay, guys, we've got a second colour. What's the second colour? 3, 2, 1, tell me. White. So we've got blue, we've got white. And the sky was pale and stained with yellow on the eastern horizon. So what's our third colour? 3, 2, 1. So we've got yellow, white and blue. Are these colours the same or different to Bournemouth? So can you just copy and complete this sentence? Sorry, copy this sentence, but choose whether we would say same or different, okay? So you're going to write down the colours are the... Good. What's the answer? Good, the colours are different. So immediately we're getting a difference between Bournemouth and Corfu. And here the colours are different. So guys, if you need to, just press pause. List the 3 colours in this section, blue, white and yellow. And just write the sentence, the colours are different. And then just press play when you're ready. Ahead, so this is now, we've seen the sea. And he's describing that the boat's looking from the boat to Corfu. Ahead, so in other words, ahead of the boat, ahead lay a chocolate brown smudge of land huddled in mist, with a frill of foam at its base. This was Corfu, and we strained our eyes to make out the exact shapes of the mountains, to discover valleys, peaks, ravines, and beaches, but it remained a silhouette. Now, guys, I didn't ask you to look for this, but this little section begins with the word dawn. So dawn, guys, if you know, dawn, is that the morning or the evening? Brilliant, it's the morning. So it's morning as they approach Corfu. And there's a mist, so it's not easy to see everything. Okay, but I just want us to remind ourselves, so what country are they arriving in? Brilliant, Corfu. Now, guys, do you remember yesterday's lesson that you watched? Is Corfu a concrete, abstract or proper noun? What would we write down next to Corfu? So what country are they arriving in? So we're in Corfu. And is that concrete, abstract or proper noun? Look, it's got that capital letter. So it's a brilliant proper noun. So for this one, just press pause. Say they're arriving in Corfu. And in brackets, it's a proper noun. Okay. Then suddenly the sun shifted over the horizon and the sky turned the smooth, enamelled blue of a jay's eye. The endless, meticulous curves of the sea flamed for an instant and then changed to a deep royal purple flecked with green. I love that ending. Okay, can you look at the words for me, though? Then suddenly. See them here? Then suddenly. So this signals that a change is about to happen. So writers do this quite a lot. They use words that signal change. But signals a change. Then suddenly signals a change. Now, if we took the words then suddenly, do you think the change is quick or slow? So is this signalling a quick or a slow change? So all you need to write down is quick or slow, whether you think it's a quick or slow change. But this one's a little bit harder. So what causes the change? So what actually changes? Now, this is where we almost have to put the 2 elements together. So here, they're looking at Corfu and it's covered in mist. There's a mist. So it makes it quite hard to see everything, isn't it? They're straining their eyes. They can't see everything. It's covered in mist. And it's almost a silhouette. So it's like it's in shadow. So what causes the change? Suddenly something changes. And what new colours now are used to describe this part of Corfu? And again, there's 3. So I'm going to read it once more. What changes, and is it quick or sudden, and what 3 new colours do we get? Okay, then suddenly the sun shifted over the horizon and the sky turned the smooth enamelled blue of a jay's eye. The endless meticulous curves of the sea flamed for an instant and then changed to a deep royal purple flecked with green. Okay, so what 3 colours? Let's work backwards together, okay? So 3, 2, 1, the first colour is blue. If you got blue, give yourself a tick. The second colour, did you get it? Brilliant, purple. It actually says a deep royal purple. So these are wonderful colours. And then green. So we've got green, blue and purple. From the beginning, we've got yellow and white. So we've got white, yellow, purple, blue, green, beautiful colours. Guys, what's that word that we would use to describe a group of colours in the sky? So after a storm, when sometimes light hits raindrops, what do we see in the sky that's full of colours? It's a rainbow. Brilliant. So it's almost like we've got this rainbow of colours that after the dreary rain misery of Bournemouth, Corfu arrives, a rainbow of colour. It's beautiful for them. Okay, so guys, Bournemouth versus Corfu. Which place are we meant to like the best? Are we meant to like Bournemouth or are we meant to like Corfu? So your very last job for me today is just to copy and complete this sentence. Blank is the best place because. So which place do you think we're meant to like? Are we meant to like Bournemouth or Corfu? And can you use that word because to give me a reason? So guys, thank you so much for working with me today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.